Hey everyone, me Kevin here. I'd like to go through some of my first impressions of the Apple WWDC 2023 event. It, unfortunately for RFK, was happening at the same time as RFK and Elon Musk and their conversation on Twitter, which I think was really poorly planned on their part since the Apple event was pre-scheduled a long time ago, and the Twitter thing seemed to be a little more spontaneous. But let's get into my thoughts here. Obviously, we're going to start with the headset. So this morning I talked about how I was really looking forward to this little scroll wheel idea of being able to transition from being on a virtual reality headset to seeing the area around me. I have to say, I was concerned when I saw Apple's execution of this in two specific cases. I'm going to put those up on screen now, and I want you to see the person wearing the headset as they reach for this card. It actually feels like it's not going to be as smooth as they're trying to make it look. It's going to be kind of like that feeling when you're wearing a VR headset and somebody's reaching something to you or handing something to you. You're kind of like, where's my hand again? Like, in other words, you're probably off by about 6 inches or so. That's what she said. Anyway, that's potentially a little problematic because I think that is going to contribute to some of the visual contortion or stress that we're going to end up having to deal with wearing these things for an extended period of time if you were even so inclined. See, I'm a big believer that really for these augmented reality headsets to get to where we can actually use them as displays in our space, where we can still see the world around us, we have to actually believe that the world around us is the distance we are physically used to it being. So I'll give you an example. If I'm wearing the virtual reality headset, and let me use a more empty cup just in case I spill. If I'm wearing the virtual reality headset and my coffee's on a thing right here, and I'm doing this, it's gonna be strenuous, okay? I need to be able to instantly grab it, just like I would be able to IRL. And that card pass-off gave me some concern, as well as the cuts of the individual around when he was playing ball with his child. So that didn't give me a lot of optimism, though I will say I think there is some use for this for creatives, not actually functional creatives where you're doing things, no offense to more like creative creatives. I'll explain the difference here in a moment. But if you're going to go on Adobe Lightroom, like they explained in the presser here, I do not think you want to use your eyeballs to go through all of the menus and then try to use your fingers to control what your eyeballs are essentially trying to menu grab, mostly because I think your workflow is going to slow down about 90%. I'm not saying it's not going to work. I'm just saying if you're going to go into Photoshop or Lightroom or Premiere or Final Cut and you're going to start working to adjust settings, it is going to be so frustrating to operate. I do not see this as a functional extension of your desk unless you're willing to sit there with a laptop and a mouse. That potentially could work, but then it goes back to how much eye strain are you going to get by wearing this? I'm concerned that people wearing this for a while in a store, like 10-15 minutes as a display, aren't going to really feel that disconnect or that eye strain. So personally, I'm worried about it. I think the best thing you could do is just try really any other virtual reality headsets like a Quest and then see how long you're actually comfortable wearing it without getting a headache. Now, they do a very phenomenal job of giving this the opportunity to have essentially a real memoji, so to speak, of you in FaceTime calls where you're not wearing glasses. Very cool. Love the technology. Never liked the whole cartoon thing. The whole cartoon thing belongs with like the old school Wii in Mario Kart and like your little Wii character and stuff like that. But beyond that, no. Apple's direction here is way better than Facebook's direction. And Apple did a really good job at slamming almost any other business that you could potentially imagine. Not only did they slam the things you have to hold with either Meta or PlayStation, but throughout the rest of their conference, they slammed Intel. They basically are trying to destroy GoodNotes with PDF in-note markup and collaboration. They're trying to destroy Propel, which I think they just did. Propel, not Propel, that's the old drink. Anyway, I got this little Propel band here for my watch, And I got this because when I meet people for my real estate startup, I just tap the little NFC or QR code thingy. It's NFC and QR, and it gives them my full contact card, but it's a little clunky. Now Apple is basically integrating that directly into their system. Brilliant. Destroy another company. And then they're coming out with the Journal app, which looks like it's basically a Notion replacement. Now, no guarantees. Apple often is very optimistic with how they can replace some of these other apps that have really deep functionality already built in. So I don't know that I'll transition from Notion or GoodNotes just yet, but Propel might be dead or whatever. Propel might be dead in the water. A lot of slams on Intel, which definitely helped lead Intel's stock price lower. But focusing more on this headset, I think the most functional purpose for it is, quite frankly, me sitting down and creatively writing. That's it. If I want to creatively dictate with Siri or creatively write with a keyboard, perfect. If I'm a book writer, author, script writer, and you're not yet replaced by ChatGPT, sorry. This is fantastic. I actually think this is a wonderful way to be distraction-free. Now, the downside is it's not entirely clear to me if you're going to be able to wear your Apple AirPod Pro Maxes, which I think is a downside. I saw them use it with AirPods, but not the Pro Maxes. So I'm not sure if that band is going to be in the way. It probably will be. So I'm not the biggest fan of that because I really like the noise canceling element of those. And I think that's actually really important for me to feel immersed because the noise canceling on these little guys isn't as great as the over-the-ear ones. Duh. That is a little bit of a problem because then what you gain with visual immersion, you lose with audio immersion, and audio immersion I think is actually potentially more important when you're creatively writing because if you can start hearing a kid scream, goodbye creativity. That's a big deal. The Face ID, honestly, the eyeball optic ID. This was interesting. To me, I'm just like, how much data is Apple going to collect on us? Face ID, fingerprints, now eyeballs, voice, health. They got everything, man. Now, they say it's private. They say they don't do anything with it. All right. Okay, Apple. No, I'll believe them. I don't want to be too cynical here. Disney Plus available day one. Great. Again, I don't think this is going to be... I think this is an expensive note taker at $3,499 and not shipping until early 2024, which could be like, honestly, April of 2024. That's still technically somewhat early. This is 10 months out. This is a whole pregnancy out. I'm not feeling so great about that. In the meantime, you could actually learn a whole lot of things on the programs on Building Your Wealth link down below, or the how to make more money and get SH9T done faster with exclusive live streams with me every single day when the market is open, which are really cool. Check those links out down below. But I'm not convinced that this is really going to be a tool that I could use while walking around, mostly because of that spatial awareness problem. I get the whole FaceTime idea, but not super excited about FaceTiming anyway. Like, I rarely FaceTime people anyway, so more of a novelty here. For a Zoom call, okay, maybe. If I could throw up a virtual background and I could put these suckers on and I could walk around my house or go on a walk while on a Zoom call, that could be a game changer because I'm tired of people sending me Zoom links and I have to sit down. I actually have to sit down at a desk to do the Zoom. I know I could just hold my iPhone, but that's a pain in the butt too because I gotta stand there holding the iPhone. So for mobile Zoom meetings, if you're not using the Tesla already for your mobile Zoom meetings, there's some potential here. Again, mobile Zoom meetings and note-taking or writing is probably the extent to which I find this very interesting. Personally, I watch movies and things on TV with other people. Otherwise, I don't. I just don't watch alone. Maybe you do. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, for people who watch stuff with other people, I'm not entirely sure how useful this is. So then let's get into some of the other things that we heard. I did like, the new MacBook Air 15-inch, fine, whatever. The M2 Ultra, okay, you could play 22 streams of 8K ProRes video at once. Okay, whatever. And nobody's going to need to do that. The iPhone. Okay, the contact poster, honestly, this is going to be the new blue text. This is actually brilliant. You're quite literally destroying anyone who isn't an iPhone user because people who are going to get calls are going to look and go, that's a call I want to answer, like a blue text. That's a message I want to get back to. It's a cult, and I'm part of the cult, so I like it. So I think this contact poster idea, phenomenally brilliant. Really, really smart. You're taking that coldness of the blue text and adding it to phone calls now. Brilliant. Pick up during voicemail. That's how old school phones used to work. Great idea. Because how many times has a call accidentally gone to voicemail and they're leaving you a voicemail? You can't call them back because their line is busy and it's like, rah, like you're just leaving me a voicemail. FaceTime voicemail, all right. Transcribing voice memos, thank freaking God. I hate it when people send me voice memos to text because I'm like, you may as well be leaving me a voicemail. I'll get to it later. And then I never do. Name drop the contact card, great. Scheduled notifications for the journal, whatever. Setting the phone up as like a horizontal display on a stand, so that way you could look at widgets or whatever. It's not a bad idea. I keep them generally vertically displayed so that way I could see my notifications summary, which I'm actually a big user of the notification summary. I love the notification summary. I'll show it on screen here kind of just as an example. Here's just an example of my next news summary, and I can kind of use my summary to scroll through it, and I like having that up. I'm not sure, they didn't showcase the notification summary in a horizontal. I think that's a mistake if you can't do that in a horizontal. PDF in notes, fine. We'll see if that's anything even relatively as good as GoodNotes. The whole, yay, we can have multiple timers now on the iPad, and we have stunning new screensavers. Some parts of the presentation, little cringy. A new era of gaming. That is probably a big weakness for Apple. Nobody actually believes them in this, especially since you can spend $600 basically on an AirPod Pro Max, but they're not good enough to game with. A $250 SteelSeries headset is 10x better. Now they're saying game mode should let you actually use these for gaming. Skeptical. AirPlay in hotel rooms via a QR code, brilliant. I hate going to hotel rooms and having to try to sync stuff with the TVs. I just end up not doing it. So, yeah. Now, again, all in all, what do I think? Look, Apple is a brilliant company. They're going to make the best out of all of this. This isn't a company, and obviously I have exposure to the company. It's not like it's like, this was such a bad presentation where you dump it. It's kind of along expectations. I think I'm a little bit concerned that the vision to physical is going to have too much of a mismatch. Maybe they can fix that, and maybe they will over the next year. If they do, great. Is it something I'll buy? Probably, because I buy everything from Apple. Is it something you should buy? Probably not, because quite frankly, the fact that you can't do the noise canceling over the ear, well, I don't know if you can or can't, but that I suspect that you can't do the over-the-ear headphones, that's kind of a little bit of a killer for me. I like the idea of like having these apps up, but again, the only apps that I would want up in front of me are things that I would be able to control with essentially my voice. So am I really going to be editing in Lightroom or Final Cut on this? No. Most of my workflow is not going to function with this. It will work for creative writing. That, in my opinion, is it. So if I'm going to sit there and creatively think or brainstorm, fantastic. Now, wait a minute though, Kevin. Wait a second. If I write a whole paragraph, am I going to go edit a word that Siri got wrong or edit a paragraph that Siri got wrong? It's going to be a lot of like eyeballing to try to circle a paragraph and like widget back and delete. And I worry that some of it is going to end up being more frustrating than it's worth, where you're kind of just like, just take it off and use a mouse and a keyboard again. And then it just goes right back to, okay, so if you're not using your eyeballs or voice to really control what you're writing, what are you doing in the first place? Now, maybe you could, like, in other words, why bother using it in the first place? Maybe you could end up using it as like a first draft tool. But now all of a sudden you're spending $3,500 on a first draft tool. That's tough. That's tough to justify. Now, could you argue that, hey, but you could use it to read the news or read reports? Sure. But if I read reports, I like to actively read reports where I'm going through PDFs. So for example, if I want to highlight this PDF, I want to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to sit there with a highlighter with my eyeballs unless somehow I can integrate this iPad with it, but I doubt I can, because especially if I have that spatial disorientation, I got to be like within a few millimeters here, because if I want to highlight the word capture, but instead of going there, it goes here, I'm going to be like, what the hell? Why am I wearing these glasses again? So I'm unconvinced that I'll be able to use this for note-taking. Maybe I can read a book or a newspaper, but then again, when I read a newspaper, I like to take notes, so that's not gonna work. Articles, I like to take notes, so that's gonna be difficult. I really think this is a $3,500 brainstorming app. That's what I think it is. $3,500, and you can brainstorm in a little immersive space, but not quite as immersive as having the over-the-ear headphones, unless they figure out how to enable that. That would be great. If you can make it have the over-the-ear, fine. Then I can be fully teched out. I'll have the Apple Watch on, this on, and soon I'll have Apple underwear on. I don't even want to know what we're going to call that version of ID. This can be like large ID. Depending on, obviously, who's wearing it. But anyway, I don't know. Like, I'm really trying to think of use cases here. Again, maybe if you're watching shows alone, but again, missing the over-the-ear. And the spatial connection, I'm skeptical of. And then in terms of an extended workspace, I think it'll be annoying more than it'll be useful. So I would say, again, like with 90% certainty, this is more of a gizmo than a useful productivity tool. It's just, well, I'm just stupid enough to want to buy it to tell you more about how I just wasted my money. But I think that's a very bad idea. So as usual, do as I say, not as I do. But you can't do it anyway for, well, if you wanted to, until like next April probably. They're gonna miss the holiday season. That's another mistake. It's because it's not quite there yet. Little premature announcement, I think. Anyway, you know, usually they do the one more thing, and oh, by the way, it's available in 2 weeks. Yeah, no, it's available next year. Thanks for the clickbait. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts. Thanks for watching. Bye. Now, I want you to know this. When it comes to AI, time is what's going to make you money. And if you can prove that value to an employer, you'll always be able to be employed. So this is another way of making sure that you don't get replaced